The Orlando Magic currently occupy the 8th seed in the Eastern Conference as we head into the bubble in the NBA. But with Brooklyn and Washington having so many players opt out, it seems likely that the Orlando Magic will finish in 7th in the East, thus lining up to play the current 2 seed Toronto Raptors. In the hypothetical situation that they do meet up in the playoffs, what would be the matchup? How would they fare against each other? Let's get into it. Welcome to Amateur Sports, everybody. Jacob Hardaway talking about the possible first round matchup in the East between the Toronto Raptors and the Orlando Magic. I think this is the most likely first round matchup for the Toronto Raptors because Orlando in 8th, I can't see them not overtaking Brooklyn for that 7th spot, given that the Nets have so many players who have opted out of playing in the bubble. Therefore, the Raptors I can see staying in 2nd, lining up with the 7th place Orlando Magic at the end of the seeding games in the bubble. So, like I said, we're going to go through the matchup of this series. I've done a lot of matchup videos. People like the Raptors one, so I'm going back to the Raptors again to talk about how they'd fare against the Orlando Magic. This would be a rematch of last season's first round matchup. Orlando were 7th, the Raptors were 2nd, and even though Orlando won game 1, Toronto won 4 games in a row to take down the Orlando Magic in 5 games. And it was a very poor performance from the Raptors in that game 1. Kyle Lowry is highlighted for having 0 points in that game, but showed throughout the rest of the postseason that he is not a poor playoff performer. He showed out and was balling for the rest of the playoffs, and so were the Raptors, en route to winning an NBA championship. TJ Augustine hit, a fluky 3 to end the game there, and, the Raptors lose game 1, but maybe it helped them. Maybe, that was just that warning shot they needed. It lit the fire under their ass to go out and win that series and go on to win every other series on course to the championship. So, if we get into one this season, I can't really see what Orlando can throw at Toronto to kind of disrupt their game. Orlando, just like Toronto, is a team that relies on their defensive abilities to win most of their games. However, Toronto was just way better at doing that. Toronto had the 2nd best defensive rating in the entire NBA, and Orlando have the 9th best. So it's decent. Orlando do have, however, the 4th best opposition points per game, which, that's great. But the Toronto Raptors are 1st in that category. So whatever Orlando can throw at them defensively, Toronto do have a better defense. But maybe Orlando might want to stunt our offense a little bit in this series to come out on top in 4 games. The Raptors have the 14th best offensive rating and the 12th best offensive points per game. So maybe Orlando can do a bit of stopping there. But, even if they do mitigate our offense a little bit, Orlando had the 24th best offensive rating in the entire NBA and the 27th best points per game. So even if Orlando can do a bit of damage on our offense, it is unlikely that they will be able to truly penetrate the Raptors' defense because it is such a formidable defense. It is 2nd best in terms of rating and the best in terms of points allowed per game. Orlando don't really have the weapons to take down a defense of that caliber. I mean, going through their team, there are a lot of guys who rely on getting their points, close to the cup, getting it in the paint. There aren't a lot of real shooters on this team other than Evan Fournier. Only the former Raptor Terrence Ross, other than Evan Fournier, is shooting over 35% from 3. So it's not really great shooting from the Orlando Magic. I mean, they have some guys in the 30s, but it's not truly efficient to a point where the Raptors are actually going to be worried. And with the Raptors having such tremendous interior defense with Serge Ibaka and Marc Gasol, maybe Orlando will think that they do need to be hitting these threes to get an upper hand in the series. But Orlando only have the 25th best three-point percentage as a team in the entire NBA. The Raptors, by comparison, are 6th in that category. So there's really nothing you can find or conjure up to give Orlando the upper hand in this series. I'd say the Raptors have a roster that can easily go 9 deep for a playoff run. You have the normal starting 5 of Lowry, Van Vliet, Anunoby, Siakam, and Gasol. You have your 6th and 7th man in Ibaka and Norman Powell. And then you go a little bit further down the order and you still have guys like Terrence Davis and Rondé Hollis-Jefferson. So there are a lot of real players on the Toronto Raptors going deep. The Orlando Magic don't have a tremendously deep roster. I mean, the Raptors are better with their starting five. They have a better bench. They are better on offense. They are better on defense. Raptors shoot better as well. There is nothing that Orlando has on the Toronto Raptors leading into the series. I mean, that is why the Orlando Magic are 30-35, and the Toronto Raptors are 46-18, better off than what they were last season with Kawhi Leonard. So the Raptors' regular season performance has been even better without their savior, the guy that got them the championship. It wasn't true. The Raptors were a great team already, and they just added Kawhi Leonard. Now that Kawhi Leonard's gone, they're still a great team. I think that there is way too much for Orlando to ask to win 4 games out of 7 in a series against the Toronto Raptors. I think that Orlando realistically will get us on an off day, will be able to shut us down a little bit, and then put us in a position to lose, and maybe they'll seize the opportunity like they did last year in one of the games. So I think that the fate of this series is going to be a gentleman's sweep. Raptors in 5. There's nothing really Orlando can do to win more than one game. They just don't have the capabilities. They don't have the weapons. I mean, they don't shoot well, and even so, they're playing against a team that closes out on the perimeter tremendously. Their bigs are going up against, Vucevic is a great player. I like Vucevic, but he's going to have to go up against a guy like Serge Ibaka or even Marc Gasol, who are great defenders all over the court. Aaron Gordon is going to have to be defending Pascal Siakam, and, a slight mismatch. Aaron Gordon is the same height as Pascal Siakam, but Pascal Siakam is a 7'3" wingspan compared to Aaron Gordon's 7-foot wingspan. Both guys are 6'9", in case you were wondering. So Siakam can eat up that mismatch a little bit. I mean, our shooters on the perimeter, there's so many shooters out there, and going up against a team that's not really stellar at guarding in the backcourt positions. I mean, Markelle Fultz and Evan Fournier, neither of those guys being great defenders, having to guard Kyle Lowry and Fred VanVleet. There's just everything favors Toronto in this series. I can see Orlando just sneaking one by us, having a great day defensively. Toronto have an off day with their shooting. They just, fall a little bit out of sync, lose by maybe 1 or 2 possessions. That could happen, but it's no big deal. Winning in 5 games is not something to be upset about. I think that the Raptors can easily win this in 5. They can win it in 4. I mean, they have all the tools to go through Orlando in 4 out of 4 games, but I'll give Orlando a bit of credit. They're in this position for a reason. I think they will be the 7th seed for a reason. They'll have earned that position, and maybe they sneak a game on us. I think it is pivotal that the Raptors stay in that 2nd seed in the East, because if you finish 2nd, you get either Brooklyn, Orlando, or Washington, most likely Orlando. And if they do get Brooklyn, I've done a video on the matchup there, and it does not at all favor the Brooklyn Nets. If they get Orlando, I think that's very important because, if they finish 3rd, all of a sudden they got to go through a first-round matchup of likely the 76ers, possibly the Indiana Pacers, and though I think they would win both of those series, it's just not that tough series you want in the first round. You want, if you're en route to trying to get another championship, you want to go through an easy first round matchup, which I think, no disrespect to Orlando, but the stats just highlight that Orlando aren't equipped to take down the Toronto Raptors in a 7-game series. They aren't equipped to even match them at all in this series. You want to walk through that series. You want to get through it in 4 or 5 games, be well rested for the second round, but having to go through a team like Indiana or Philly, you may be looking at a 6-game, maybe even 7-game series against those guys. So even though I think the Raptors would win, you just want to coast through. And again, no disrespect to Orlando, but I've highlighted in this video, Orlando don't have the players or the percentages, stats, whatever, to keep up with the Toronto Raptors. That is why I think the Raptors would march through this series. I think it's pivotal that the Raptors stay in that position. I think they will stay in that 2nd position. Orlando will move up that spot, but Raptors in 5. So what do you think about this series? Any Orlando fans? Do you think Orlando has a chance in this series against the Toronto Raptors? Do you realistically think they have a chance in this series? And if so, let me know in the comments why you think Orlando has that chance. Any Raptors fans, how many games will it take the Raptors to advance beyond the Orlando Magic if that is the all likely first round matchup? But thank you so much for watching. Please like the video if you like, and subscribe to Amateur Sports for more content just like this as well. hit that notification bell because we post 4 times a week. Lots of NBA content, lots of Raptor content as the Raptors get set to tip off tomorrow against the Los Angeles Lakers, who had a bit of a struggle against the Clippers. Even though they won, they're going to be tired. I'm liking the Raptors' chances tomorrow in that game. But stay tuned for a lot more content. A lot of subscribers coming to the channel lately. I appreciate every single one of you who hit that button. If you want to join the road to 300, get on the train. At the end of the day, I believe what I say, and if you disagree, that is okay. We'll see you again next time.